Being extremely insecure and fake, narcissists do not announce when they lose control over you. They just start saying weird, loaded things that feel like low blows, things that suddenly question your sanity, your identity, and independence. They act like they're composed, like they're above it. They can't be impacted, but deep down they're panicking. Because the moment you stop needing them, they stop mattering, and that's what they do not want. Instead of saying, I'm scared, they say things that are designed to destabilize you. Because if you're confused, they stay in power. Hi, I am Danish, a narcissistic abuse recovery professional. Welcome to my channel. The topic for today is 10 things narcissists say that actually mean I am losing control. Number 1, you're not as innocent as you pretend to be. This is projection, plain and simple. The narcissist is handing you the blueprint of their own mind, but accusing you of it. Why? Because they are starting to feel exposed. You're not playing along anymore. You have stopped reacting the way they are used to. You have stopped over-explaining, for example. You have stopped defending yourself. And to a narcissist, that is a massive threat, a massive injury. So they flip the script. They accuse you of pretending, of wearing a mask, of hiding something. But that is their story, not yours. They are the ones who have been pretending all along, pretending to be the victim, the savior, and the one who knows your soul inside out. Now that the truth is creeping out and their facade is cracking, they panic. They want to distract you from seeing them clearly, so they shove the mirror in your face. What they're really saying is, I know I'm the one being unmasked here, but I am going to make you feel like the liar instead. It is not just manipulation, it is desperation, because deep down they know the minute you see who they really are, it's over. Number 2, you're starting to act cold like them. When a narcissist says that, they're not just insulting you, they're exposing their fear. The moment you stop reacting, chasing, justifying every emotion, you remind them of someone who already figured them out. That them they're referring to, it is usually an ex, a sibling, a parent, or anyone who eventually saw through their act and walked away. So they throw that comparison at you like a curse. They want to trigger your guilt, make you feel like you're becoming heartless, detached, or mean like them. But what they are really doing is telling you who they could not control. That ex they couldn't stand, that friend who turned on them, that is code for someone who escaped. Now they see you are doing the same, pulling back, thinking for yourself, refusing to accept abuse. So they lump you in with the people they failed to dominate, because you're finally seeing what they saw, and that terrifies the narcissist. Deep down they know exactly how the story ends, and that is what they do not want to happen again. Number 3, don't you forget who you were before me. This is the ultimate weaponization of your past. Narcissists love to play savior at first. They offer you support, maybe even some kind of escape, just enough to hook you. But that help always comes with strings, because later they will hold it over your head like a loaded gun. When they say this, what they're really doing is reminding you of your lowest moments, not to uplift you, but to shrink you. They want you to feel small, weak, but grateful. They want you to question whether you would even be where you are without them, because the minute you start recognizing your own power, your growth, and your own worth, they lose control. So they drag you back to who you were when you first met them. Maybe you were heartbroken or financially unstable, maybe lost, and they position themselves as the one who built you back up. But they did not. What they did was find you in a vulnerable state like a predator and attach themselves to your healing process, so later they could claim it as their own. What happens to you? You start questioning whether your strength is really yours. You hesitate before taking your next leap. You feel guilt for even thinking about leaving the person who was there for you. That's the trap. It keeps you emotionally in debt to someone who never actually saved you. They just made sure you never forgot that you were once broken. Number 4, I still know you better than anyone ever will. This is possession, ultimate possession. When a narcissist says this, They're trying to trap you in a narrative where they are the author of your identity. They're not saying they understand you. They are reminding you that they studied you. They watched your reactions. They memorized your patterns inside out. And now they are using that knowledge to position themselves as irreplaceable. The real intent here is to cut off your sense of possibility, to make you believe no one else will ever connect with you the way they did. And when you buy into that idea, you start second guessing new relationships, friendships, or even your own ability to connect with yourself. What they are really doing is reinforcing the trauma bond. If they know you so well, why do you still feel so unseen, unsafe, and misunderstood? Because this isn't about knowing you. It is about convincing you that they are your emotional compass, so you never wander too far from their influence. Number 5, what are you trying to prove? This line comes out when you start moving different, when you start explaining yourself, when you set boundaries, non-negotiable boundaries, when you show confidence without seeking their validation. That is when they throw this out to make you question your motives. They do not actually think you are proving anything. What they are reacting to is your unapologetic energy. They're used to seeing you doubt yourself, walk on eggshells, and soften your strength. So the moment you stop doing that, they assume it is a performance. Not because it is, but because your self-trust exposes how little they actually have. This question isn't curiosity, it is control. If they can frame your growth as a show, they can make you feel fake. And once you feel fake, you start dimming again. That is the goal. Keep you confused about whether your power is real, because your clarity threatens their entire identity. Number 6, you couldn't live without me for more than a few minutes. What happened? This one is cruel, and it is meant to land like a punch. It is not sarcasm. It is a carefully chosen sentence meant to trigger all the insecurities they helped create. They made you dependent, then mocked you for being exactly that. The irony is, they are the one who cannot survive without someone orbiting around them, like my mother. They need constant attention, emotional reactions, someone to mirror back their importance. But instead of confronting their own dependency, they project it onto you. And they do it in a way that makes you feel pathetic for even needing anything. If this line hurts, it's because it's meant to. It is designed to drag you back into shame, so that you forget how far you have come, so that you pause your progress, so that you start thinking maybe you really aren't strong enough to be on your own. But the fact that they had to say it at all means they see how strong you are becoming, and that scares them more than they will ever admit. Number 7, you don't need to burden yourself with earning money. This doesn't come from love. It comes from calculation. My father said it to me. The narcissist doesn't want a financially empowered partner or child. They want a dependent one. The moment you start talking about your ambitions, goals, or your income, they start downplaying it as unnecessary. They frame it as them taking care of you, but in reality, they are laying the groundwork for financial control. Money means choices, right? Money means freedom, and someone who has both cannot be controlled. That is what they know, and that's what they're trying to prevent. They want you to stay in the role of someone who needs them to survive, because once you have your own, you will clearly see how little they actually were giving. It's not about easing your burden, it's about making sure you do not develop the resources to leave. This is how they strip you of agency without raising their voice, and it works silently. Until one day you realize your entire life revolves around someone who sees your independence as a threat, not as a win. Number 8, I know you are planning something, aren't you? This line comes out of their nasty mouth when you go quiet, when you stop oversharing, when your eyes no longer give away what's going on in your head, when you become unpredictable. They do not like that. Narcissists thrive on excess. So when they start losing emotional visibility, they panic, they stress out, they begin projecting their own mindset onto you. They assume you're scheming, hiding, or strategizing, not because you are, but because that's how they operate. They are not intuitive, they are paranoid. And now that they can't predict your moves, They default to suspicion. This is not about what you're doing, it's about what they can no longer read. You do not need to actually have a plan. The absence of chaos is enough to make them spiral. Silence is threatening because it means they are not the center anymore. They do not know what's going on. They have lost access and now they are making noise. Number 9, this isn't you. Someone else is poisoning you against me. This is what they say when you stop tolerating their nonsense, when you let your authenticity speak, when you finally start pushing back, standing tall, or walking away. Instead of accepting that you're waking up to their bad behavior, they deflect. They blame your shift on someone else. It is never you thinking for yourself, it's always someone manipulating you. In my case, my father blamed substance abuse for my changed behavior, because he could not understand how I could be different. Why? Well, he had programmed me to be his servant, but then I gave up on playing that role, and that is what triggered a lot of panic inside him. When they refer to that someone, it's usually an ex, possibly a sibling, a co-worker, or anyone who previously saw through their act and got out. The narcissist still resents those people because they could not control them either. Now that you are starting to behave the same way, they group you in with the ones who broke free. What they are doing here is trying to undo your clarity by making it look like corruption. They want you to second guess your instincts, because if they can convince you that your truth does not belong to you, they can take it away. Absolute gaslighting. This is isolation on a psychological level. They're not just afraid of you leaving, they're afraid of you becoming someone who does not need them anymore. Number 10, you always ruin everything. This is their tantrum, their meltdown, the final punch when everything else has failed. When they can't love bomb you, can't guilt trip you, cannot charm or silence you, that is when they reach for this line. If they can make you feel like the destroyer, you will automatically fall back into the role of the fixer. This is how they get one last shot at control. They want you to feel like you are the unstable one, like it's your fault things are never working, like the chaos follows you, not them. And if you internalize that, they win. You go back to explaining yourself, apologizing, making up for a mess they created. All in all, when a narcissist starts using the 10 lines I shared with you, it's because they have realized they are losing the version of you they could control. The mask of composure they wear starts to crack the moment you stop playing the role they wrote for you. These phrases are beyond manipulation. They're signs of fear. Fear that you are changing, thinking for yourself, and seeing through them, which is what they do not want. Once that happens, their power over you begins to collapse. That is the part they cannot undo. That was it for today's episode. I hope you found it insightful. Let me know in the comments. I will talk to you in the next one. Until then, as always, let the healing begin and continue.